What's up, guys? This is This Weekend Go See, Robbie's World of Movie spin-off show, I guess you could say. Basically, the gist of the show. I'm going to be going over basically like what I think you should go see this weekend in the theaters. And if you're too cheap to go to the movies, I'll also be talking about pretty good movies to go see on Netflix because you can just watch that at home. Anyway, let's get started with this. A movie I think people should go see this weekend is Star Wars. Sorry, Solo, a Star Wars story. Going into this film, I did not care, honestly. Like, this was a Star Wars movie that I did not ask for, but got anyway. I was already kind of like still recovering from The Last Jedi because Star Wars films, like, I like them one a year, and I like them really spaced out. But for this film, it was kind of like, we just got one 6 months ago. Do we really have to go see it? But since I'm a Star Wars fan, I was obviously there opening night. And I gotta say, I was actually really, really surprised. It was very, very fun. I mean, like the movie was just like fun to watch, and it was just action packed, and like a pretty decent story. But I mean, it felt like a really good action movie, very entertaining. Good chemistry amongst the characters, like Chewbacca and Han Solo. Like honestly, whenever I see them on screen, it just felt like I don't know. It was just amazing to watch it, and like I wish I could have seen more of that, and as if there wasn't enough already. But it was good in that part. It's a very good film for the family. I mean, it's an action-packed film. I mean, very somewhat lighthearted, not very dark, but it's actually a very very good film. Yeah, I mean, like there are parts of it that are that are dark, but the overall tone of it is not a dark, dark, serious film. The things I did not really like about this film, though, were it was kind of a shaky first act. And what I mean by that is the first act was kind of just like thrown together not too well. And like you're kind of like sitting there like not really confused, just kind of more like what the heck, you know? Uh, but then like they kind of justify why they did that in the second and third act. So that's kind of nitpicking a little bit. But the one thing that I like don't like about this film and probably the biggest problem I have with it, and a lot of other Star Wars fans probably have the same problem, is it does not feel like a Star Wars movie. Now, like yeah, it's a good movie, but it doesn't feel like a Star Wars movie. I mean, you can't just make a good movie like that and then throw Star Wars on it, and then it's kind of like it like lessens the value of it. It kind of felt like just a sci-fi movie featuring Han Solo and Chewbacca. But overall, it was a very good movie. Definitely entertaining. Pretty good addition to the franchise. I gave it a 7 out of 10 overall. But yeah, I definitely recommend seeing that. Now, this next film, I'm probably going to be one of the few people that you'll ever hear say how much they did not like this film, and that was Deadpool 2. I really did not like this film. It was just, it wasn't as good as Deadpool 1 at all. There were parts that made me laugh, don't get me wrong. I mean, like, it's Deadpool. I mean, like, there was some pretty creative writing in there, like, when it came to the dialogue and the jokes. And, like, I'll admit, some of them were funny. But this overall story was weak. Too basic and too weak. One thing I do really like about it, though, was Josh Brolin as Cable. That was awesome. Because we just saw Josh Brolin, like, not even a month earlier in Avengers Infinity War. And to see him play Cable in this film, it's awesome. Josh Brolin, like 2018 is going to be the summer of Josh Brolin, if it isn't already. Now, the next film that I'd like to talk about is one that's been out for a while, and if you haven't seen it yet, what are you doing with your life? Go see it right now. And if you've already seen it, go back and see it again so it can go over the $2 billion mark and become one of the highest grossing film of all time. I want it to beat out Avatar. Avatar has had that list for so long. God knows why, but Avatar has had it, and it's like there have been so many great films ever since, and the closest one was Star Wars: The Force Awakens, but I think this next film can beat it, and that film is Avengers Infinity War. Avengers Infinity War is probably one of the greatest superhero films ever made. Not the best, one of the greatest, probably in the top 10 overall, I'd say. When it came to just the MCU movies, I'd put it at number 3, which is saying a lot considering that was their 19th film. Basically, 16 other films, I think 16 films are not as good as it. So, and the only 2 films that I have ahead of Avengers Infinity War are Captain America Civil War and the first Avengers. And I mean, Those are probably the two best in my opinion, but this is definitely a close third. It was very fun, action packed. Josh Brolin as Thanos. My goodness, this was an amazing, amazing villain. Probably the no, the best that the MCU has ever seen. And I'll go as far to say that I think it's comparable to Heath Ledger's Joker from The Dark Knight. And now, if you know me, The Dark Knight is my favorite movie of all time, and Heath Ledger's Joker is my favorite character of all time. This character, Josh Brolin, what he did with Thanos, the reason why I say that they're easy to compare now, the reason why I say that it's kind of like a discussion whether who's best is because I think Josh Brolin's Thanos was written better and overall was kind of like a better character, like when it came to story arc wise and the story and like motivation and stuff like that. But Heath Ledger's performance as the Joker blows everything out of the water. Heath Ledger as the Joker, like, if you had half an hour, I'd be able to give you part of the reason why I think he's the best of all time. The only things I didn't really like about Avengers Infinity War were the fact that it felt too crowded. But then again, you were going to get that when considering you have 22 superheroes in this movie, and that's not even including the side characters and all the villains. But it did feel a little crowded, and I think like the biggest thing I really didn't like was how it kind of jumped from story to story. It was kind of like two different stories in one movie. Overall, it's like Thanos trying to get all the stones, but it was a heist film, and it was really, really good. By heist film, I mean it's kind of like clearly a bad guy not doing the right thing tries to set out to get stuff, and that's kind of like the objective of the movie. But Avengers Infinity War is great. I honestly, usually, like, I don't really say this going into MCU films, but you need to watch some going into this film. Because, I mean, if this is your first Marvel film and you go into Avengers Infinity War, you're not going to really know what's going on and you won't really enjoy it that much. But if you've seen at least a couple, like Civil War or Thor Ragnarok, then you'll have a pretty good understanding of what's going on. Now on to movies to stream this weekend, if you're too lazy to go to the movie theater. If you're feeling action, I'd recommend watching 10,000 BC. It is a very, very good movie. It's a timepiece. It takes place millions of years. I don't know. It takes place a really long time ago. Very, very, very good effects, like special effects, for the time that it came out, which is about 10 to 11 years ago. So very good special effects. Definitely really impressive. Family films, Shrek. It's on Netflix, and I could not be more excited. I watched Shrek for the first time when I was like 3, and I've loved it ever since. It is hysterical. Still continues to make me laugh. Perfect family movie. For comedies, the movie I'd recommend watching is Masterminds with Zach Galifianakis, Kristen Wiig, Jason Sudeikis, and Owen Wilson. It's a heist film, like I said with the Thanos story. It's guys who are not doing the right thing setting out to do something that's wrong, and that's like the story of it. But in the end, you find yourself rooting for the guys. But it's very funny. Zach Galifianakis, honestly, I think is probably in my top 3 comedians of all time. He's a hysterical dude, and definitely if you're feeling like you want to laugh, go watch Masterminds. I wouldn't say it's a great film, but I'd say it's a funny film. For dramas, I really did not know that these 2 films were on Netflix, and I'm probably going to spend the next 7 hours watching just the 2 of them. Yeah, that's right, 7 hours for 2 films. Godfather 1 and 2. I am so happy that these are on Netflix because now I don't have to pull out the Blu-ray player and the DVD player and do all that stuff. I can just straight up go on Netflix and just chill back and watch Godfather 1 and 2. If you have not seen Godfather 1 and 2, there's an experience and it's waiting for you, and it is an experience you will want to go through. Yeah, there's a Godfather 3, but we don't really talk about that. For horror movies on Netflix, the horror movie I recommend watching is The Den. That movie is terrifying, and I don't really get scared by horror movies that much. I mean, that's a big reason why I kind of walk away from horror movies, kind of like, eh. But The Den is terrifying. It's like a found footage thing that takes place over Skype, like over a webcam, if that makes sense, and FaceTime. Like that's like all the movie is just found footage. But it is terrifying, and honestly, like, it'll make you want to sleep with the lights on. Let's just say that. And for sci-fi, I chose the movie Seeking a Friend for the End of the World. This movie is starring Steve Carell, aka Michael Scott or Michael Scone, and Keira Knightley. Basically, Steve Carell's character wants to go tell the love of his life that he loves her before the world ends and they all die. And he runs into Keira Knightley, kind of like a wild person, and they go on a road trip across the country to go tell Steve Carell's love that he loves her. And it's a very, very good action-filled movie. Very funny parts, obviously, because it's the great Steve Carell. Well, that'll do it for today's episode of This Weekend Go See, a Robbie's World of Movies special. Make sure to hit subscribe and like this video. Leave some constructive criticism in the comments because it's been a long time since I did this, and I could really love to hear some feedback. Another thing is, for all you horror movie fans out there, there's an app and a streaming service that's recently new, and I just found out about it like maybe about a week ago, and that streaming service is called Shudder. It's basically like a Netflix for all horror movies. Like every single type of horror movie you can think of. Slasher, paranormal, supernatural, monster movies. It's all on there. And it's honestly a really cool app. Try it out. It's a free trial for a week, and if you don't like it, just delete it. But I have had so much fun with it. I actually might start paying for this instead of getting a different email address and getting a free trial for years and years and years. Well, thank you so much for watching, guys. This is Robbie's World of Movies. This Weekend Go See. I'm your host, Robbie D'Herrera, and until next time, bye.